In the Little Flower Manor open space phase 1 or 1A, development. They are applying for a DCNR grant application. They're nearing the completion of the Park Master Site Development Plan for the Little Flower Manor property, open space located on Springfield Road in Darby Borough and Upper Darby Township. Since it is the county's intention to make the park available for public use as soon as possible, they're applying for a Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources Community Conservation Partnerships Program for development of the first phase of the park. The county is proposing that this phase of park development will include creation of an improved entrance with a park identification sign, an improved driveway to a parking area near a community garden, a new paved path along Springfield Road, 2 picnic areas, and a crushed stone pedestrian loop trail. They are kindly requesting a letter of support from Darby Borough Council. So if you're interested, I have a letter drafted for you for support. If you would like to do it, I can make a motion.
Any questions about that? Chief Scott?
Are we going to address who's going to be responsible for the policing of this area with 2 picnic areas, etc.? We've talked about it in a couple meetings. You got to understand, I'm not against it. I just want to know who's going to end up being responsible for this when something happens up there. It's in our jurisdiction. Ultimately, we're responsible. But we've talked about park police, and we've talked about other towns coming in and helping us. But there ain't nothing in writing. And once it's in, it's back on Darby to pay the bill.
We haven't had another meeting since the public meeting, but I will find out and put it up and let you know. But the only thing that I know in our meetings that we have had has been discussed about policing. That's something major. Well, they did say that. They did. But we have to keep in mind the park police are not going to be there 24/7.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're discussing. Thank you.
Because Mike doesn't want it that way.
Okay. Park police.
Okay, 24/7.
Okay, thank you. All right. Yes. Thank you. Okay. So what is it we need a consensus on to approve of getting this letter and support to them? Can we get a vote?
Make a motion. It's just a letter of support. For crying out loud.
You want to wait? Okay.
You're going to wait?
Is she on Borough Council?
This is... No, I'm a resident. I'm a taxpayer. You're not.
It's a letter.
Shut up.
It is not saying yay or nay. It's
right.
A letter. And we've been going to meetings since the inception of this project. That's the bottom line. So are we in agreement to it? Yes or no? Mr. Black.
Not for.
Okay. Pardon me? I'm sorry. I didn't hear. You mean for the policing? So Mark, okay, Patrick.
I'm in support.
Okay.
We did support the park.
Yes.
With the sale of the properties to the county.
Right.
So why wouldn't we support the park?
Right.
Okay. Support that.
It's just a letter so they can apply for a grant. That's all it is.
Please stop calling out. Give them an opportunity to talk, please.
Madam President, can I just clarify something?
Yes.
Like I started.
You did.
I'm saying is, I'm not saying that we shouldn't support it. I'm just saying, are we getting something in writing that they are going to provide exactly what Mr. Blackson just said? Are they going to provide a park officer to be there? We'll certainly back them up. That's all I'm saying.
And I will repeat
And if
What
there
I said, that I would ask that, and ask if we could get something in writing at my next meeting. That's what, you know, and now that Mr. Blackston has shared that they have 24/7 in the other parks, I will ask them to put that in writing as well. Okay? Thank you.
Everybody's okay?
Yes. Okay. Can I get a motion to accept all reports?
Second.
Motion's been moved and second, all in favor?
Did the letter pass? Did the letter pass?
Can I get a motion for?
I see people shaking their head
Wait,
no.
I got a few questions before.
We are going to go into executive.
I wanted to ask that.
We have a personnel issue.
Okay.
Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting? We are afterwards.
I just got a few questions for Mark. That's all. Is it okay if I can ask that publicly? We can adjourn and then come back and then discuss it. Different question?
Okay. All right, we're going into executive session. All right, we're gonna let Mr. Burrell, and then we'll go back in executive session. We'll have him ask.
I was told to talk to you about Quarter Street. Directly. I just got Quarter Street is zoned business and instructional district. Is that correct?
Business instructional, business institution.
Sorry. Institutional, sorry.
BI district, sure.
It is? I want to make sure I was, okay. Well, it explicitly states, well, business, sorry. Excuse me.
Oh, I thought we were.
No, we're not in executive session.
Oh.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I said we were gonna do it afterwards.
Well, if you don't want us to collect taxes. I'm sorry, go ahead.
But it does state in business institutional district that the only schools that can be there is private, commercial, educational institutions such as business or trade school or indoor vocational training facilities. Yeah, explain how we approve the charter schools. I just didn't understand it. How do we approve the charter school for that?
We determined that a charter school was abuse permitted by right. Because it said private commercial education such as. So we determined that it was.
I know mistakes do happen. I totally understand that. But charter schools are private, they're public institutions. They're not private schools. So.
Funded by public dollars.
Yep.
It already does.
And then, if you read 153.7 of the zoning code, in the interpretation and application of the provisions of this chapter, said provision shall be held to be the minimum requirements for the promotion and protection of the public health, welfare, and safety. Where the provisions of this charter impose greater restrictions than those of any other ordinance or regulation, the provision of this chapter shall be controlling. Where the provisions of any statute, other ordinance or regulation impose greater restrictions than this chapter, the provisions of such statute, ordinance, or regulation shall be controlling. Part B of 153.7, interpreting the language of this zoning ordinance to determine the extent of the restriction upon the use of the property. The language shall be interpreted where doubt exists as to the intended meaning of the language written and enacted by the governing body in favor of the property owner and against any implied extension of the restriction.
So
That's not an excuse.
That's not interpretation.
No.
I'm confused that this is a public school. This
Yes.
is not a private school. That's pretty much clear cut.
It
At
is.
least to my knowledge. Again, with my knowledge being on the school board, being on the DCIU board, charter schools are public schools. They're publicly funded. There are no private monies that come into this school, other than donations, of course, like any other school. But to run the school, it's a public institution. Their charter is underneath the Wayne Penn School District, meaning that this is a public school.
They're funded by tax dollars.
That's just that.
So the reason why I brought that up is I would like to. Well, I don't know if you guys I would like to make a motion to rescind the vote from December.
Yes. Yes. Motion and a second. There's a motion and a second.
Can you let me do this, Ms. Brown?
Do it.
Okay. The motion has been placed on the floor.
My second motion.
Good job.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Blackson.
Yes.
Yes to rescind.
Yes.
Mr. Metz.
Yes. To rescind.
Mr. Burrell.
Yes.
Ms. Parks. Ms. Hill.
No.
Ms. Light.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-3.
Yes. Good job. Thank you. Thank you. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
Get your work, right? You ain't got to be on council to get your shit done.
Can I get a motion?
It's the right thing to do.
Crooked lady.
You just want the job.
I don't want no job.
Yes, you
I got
do.
2 jobs.
Yeah, okay.
I got 2 jobs.
Okay,
Gotta
Tom.
be twisted.
Okay, Tom.
I got 2 jobs. You want the job.
I got a
That's why
job.
you sit
I
here
work.
And you come here
I
and
work.
you harass me.
Get your finger out of my face.
It's over here. My finger ain't in your
Don't
face.
point at me.
I point at you. Point at you.
Get your finger out of my face.
Okay, we need to go into
Wait a second.
Did you, I'm sorry, were you adjourned or? Yeah. I couldn't hear.
When y'all gonna stop working for Paul? You want next election, we get some people up there and get some of y'all out of your seats. It's time to change this whole dark. All you people running around working for Paula Brown. Paula Brown ain't even an elected official, and they do everything she telling them. Dictate. Stop taping.
Public meeting.
It's just what I was talking about.
Gravy train has stopped, Tom.
Ain't no gravy. I don't care about
Your
no
gravy train has
Tell me what
stopped.
I do. I work. Your gravy train. Everything you do is for you.
I don't get
It ain't
money.
for this community.
I don't get money out
I
of
don't
rec
see you out
center.
here helping out doing nothing in this community.
I don't collect
Nothing.
cash and not deposit
What are
it.
you trying to say? Who collects cash?
You tell
Who's
me.
collect cash?
Tell me.
You? What, you jealous? You mad? That's what it is. You mad.
Why would
You
I?
mad because every time you run for office, you lose.
Why
Don't
would I
nobody want
be
you
mad?
here, but the few little specks you got in with you.
Cash goes in people's pockets.
You always trying to tell somebody.
Yeah, go listen to Massa. Massa got to get you out of the room. Massa, get you out of the room.